Hey everybody, my name is Paul Eston Jr., aka Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com, joining you live here in multiple social media portals. We're streaming live right now on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and Twitter account as well. So guys, feel free to hit us up wherever you happen to be watching this, and feel free to throw in your comments and questions and everything else of that nature, guys. So we're streaming live. Again, it's Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green, and we're streaming live in all these different locations. Sorry, I was a little flustered there to get us started. We will have a special guest joining us to get you through all the latest with the Aaron Rodgers thing. And if you haven't been paying attention all day, well, buckle your seatbelts, people, because we've got a lot of different items to get to here right off the top of the program. The latest, absolute latest on the Aaron Rodgers situation. Let's give you a couple of bullet points before we bring you in to our special guest here on the show. First off, right off the top, the Green Bay Packers and the New York Jets have been in conversation since last night and into this morning on the latest with the Aaron Rodgers situation. Let's give a quick shout out, of course, to Trey Wingo, who got all of this started. And Trey Wingo in itself is a bit of a unique guy to be breaking the story, but then it was confirmed rather by a variety of NFL insiders and experts, local Jets people first, like Zach Rosenblatt and Connor Hughes, and then kind of expanded out there to a national level. And right now, as we're speaking, as we are doing this thing, the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers, they are in conversation. They're speaking. Probably some wine, probably some foods and whatnot. All of that certainly being, dove into, I assure you, with the food and drink and whatnot. But all of that is currently happening right now as they wine and dine. Let me just get a few things right off the top here. First off, for the New York Jets to be speaking with Aaron Rodgers, a man who is under contract with the Green Bay Packers, obviously it's not tampering because the Green Bay Packers have allowed this. Now, that says a couple of different things to me. First, number one, if you're the Green Bay Packers, you do not let Aaron Rodgers speak to another team unless you're cool with him leaving, obviously. And then vice versa, the other side, let me just say that from the other side, if you're Aaron Rodgers, you do not meet with the New York Jets unless two things. First off, you're playing football in 2023. Why the hell would you be talking to another NFL team if you're not? And then number two, that you are doing that because you are open to leaving the Green Bay Packers and open to playing football for somebody else. Let me put it this way. I think RG3, shout out to the former highly drafted quarterback, current ESPN analyst, he put it in a good way. Let me riddle it this way. If you were a man, a married man, I'm only engaged, but hey, different strokes, different folks. If you were a married man, would you go out to a restaurant and let your wife date another guy while you're there and then see what she says after? Does she come back and say, yeah, I'm going to go with this guy, see ya? Or does she come back to you and say, actually, things didn't go great during that date. I want to stay with you. Of course not. That doesn't make any gosh darn sense. So to me, as soon as the Green Bay Packers said, sure, you could talk to her, and Aaron Rodgers said, sure, I'll talk to you, it's over. The mere formality now is figuring out the hard-nosed details. This is my opinion, that figuring out the hard-nosed details is crossing the T's and dotting the I's. That's where we're at here. We're not, in my opinion, in an exploratory stage. You don't fly Woody Johnson, Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, Nathaniel Hackett, and others cross-country for a meeting like, hey, how we feeling? We're not on the first date stage. We're not on the second date stage. We're at a multi-date stage here where we're getting serious. Things are bubbling. That's ultimately what we're talking about here, and why I believe, like, now it's really about the closer, because you bring Woody and all these other guys in to close the deal, to make it happen. And that's what we'll be operating with. So, again, we'll have a special guest joining us here in just a few minutes. He should be in here any minute now to continue this Aaron Rodgers conversation, to give us some news and updates. Feel free, by the way, what we're planning on doing is having on our special guest for a period of time. And then after he leaves, I'll also answer some more of your Aaron Rodgers questions and really just dabble and get crazy, because Aaron Rodgers to the Jets feels more real than ever. And we'll be diving into, like I said, the latest updates and also what all the people are saying, that it looks like this thing is coming together. Let's go to Robert on our Facebook page. Again, we're streaming Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Make sure you like the video, hit subscribe down below for more great Jets content. And, of course, drop in your questions. We'll try to get to some of those on the show. Robert, our Facebook page, great show. Appreciate it. Jeffrey, hey, boy, Green. Yes, sir. Love it. Aaron, Europe, great stuff there. Jeffrey, anything new? Well, I guess what's new? Because there's been a lot happening. But honestly, we will get to that here in just a moment. Let's see here. John, Rodgers only accepts to join Jets if Woody Johnson will do shrooms with him. I heard someone made the joke, maybe it was Buffalo Jet fan, if when they order their dinner tonight, if he goes, yeah, I'll have a shroom pizza, and Aaron Rodgers goes, my man. So it could be. Jeffrey, trade is done. Yeah, here's the thing. I do want to address this because it's a question I think a lot of Jet fans have. Why would the Packers let Aaron Rodgers talk to the Jets in this particular case if a trade agreement wasn't met? For instance, let's use the example of Derek Carr. I know, tough wound for some Jet fans who preferred Carr over the latter. But when Derek Carr agreed to terms, or rather the Las Vegas Raiders, New Orleans Saints said, hey, it'll take like a third-round pick. That was the reported price. It's going to take a third-round pick for this to happen. And the Saints said, yeah, if we like what we hear with Carr, we'll do that. And they're like, cool, go meet with him, go talk with him. So normally for a player that is under contract, which Aaron Rodgers is and Derek Carr was in that scenario, for that to happen, for that conversation to happen, normally 99% of the time, trade agreement is already done. The compensation is locked in. That's normally what happens in those scenarios. So does it happen here? We'll dive in. Okay, without further ado, thank you for everyone. We'll get to some more of your comments and questions later. This man is set to join us. It's been a while since we've had him on the show, but it was a show we did regularly on a week-to-week basis, and let's bring him in right now. That is Will Parkinson, the host of the TOJ award-winning podcast, and he's been blowing up on Twitter with all his scoops and wonderful guests and everything else. Without further ado, let's bring him in. We'll have him in here for a nice 20 minutes or so, and let's bring him in. What's up, Will? What's up, brother? Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, pal.
Every damn time.
That's all right.
3 years into this, and we just still can't get it right.
That's okay. Well, by the way, man, how are you? It's been a crazy day, man.
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's one of those days where you stuff's not going to really nothing's going to really happen in totality. It was pretty obvious none of this stuff gets done in 24 hours, but it was a very exciting day. I know this is probably a hot take considering the title of the video being around Aaron Rodgers, but there was I was more intrigued on who's going to get tagged, what kind of tag, who's going to actually make it to free agency. Because, especially as, covering the Jets or Jets fans, usually, week 15, week 16, you're dreaming of, this guy's going to hit the market. This guy's going to. None of them really do. This year, it was very quarterback heavy because of a lot of the things that end up happening. So there's actually a lot of really interesting names that are going to hit the market, which is great for the Jets. But then obviously the Lamar monkey wrench was hey, man, if he's not exclusively tendered, now all of a sudden he's on the table and the Jets have a little leverage back, right? Because now there's other options on the market. And then obviously we get the, bomb, I guess, late last night with Trey Wingo. I think we all kind of took that with a bit of a grain of salt because, you don't really know. And then all of a sudden Zach Rosenblatt confirms it. Then all of a sudden now, Rappaport confirms that the two sides, basically – there's no tampering. This was agreed upon. So the day kind of traveled quickly. All of a sudden, you texting players and coaches and stuff at the Jets, and they're like, oh yeah, they're on a private plane to California. Whoa, this is picking up quickly here. So again, I don't know how quickly this will happen, but it is clearly, you don't get to this point unless there's legitimate interest on both sides, and unless the both teams are kind of at least in the same ballpark. I don't know I can't say for sure. I don't think any of us can, whether, 100%, hey, it's as simple as Rodgers says yes, and it's done, and, and snap your fingers, or it's more of, these are kind of, it feels like a little bit of that, I know Mike Tannenbaum, I think he might have said it on your show, honestly, I don't remember where he said it, with the whole Darrelle Revis thing where it's they kind of agreed in principle of, hey, if
it was a great bit.
If this gets done, shout out to the channel. If this gets done, hey, don't up your price if he says yes or whatever.
Right,
this is kind of how some of this stuff. So, I guess it's I don't know. It'll be interesting. But I think end of the day, I guess I think Rodgers ends up a Jet. I've said it for a while now, so
you have,
yeah. So we'll see.
But that's the point I want to press. That's the point I'm intrigued by, because I'm going to be honest, it ruffled my feathers a little bit. Ruffled feathers, in today's day and age. I guess that could be interpreted a lot of ways. So Aaron Rappaport comes out and says this. This is at 5:53. I feel like I have to do timestamps because information is ever flowing.
Oh, yeah.
And he tweets out this. Aaron Rodgers has always taken his time, wouldn't expect anything soon. And I had an intense reaction to that, saying, what are we talking about here? For the entire Jets contingent that came over, owner, head coach, offensive coordinator, who obviously has the direct connection to Nathaniel Hackett, general manager, head coach, owner, everything else, for everyone to come over there. While I agree with what you said, Will, and it's straight up that this is the first day because of the action and allowed talks and everything. So from that standpoint, it's the full day. But I mean, I feel like for a while it's been like a wink, wink. Robert Saleh, Matt LaFleur, best friends. You have the Hackett Rodgers thing that, like, maybe this is the first time they were legally allowed to talk, but they had to. The Jets have had to have this indication for a long time that this was very possible, because the Jets have almost operated, even in some of the Jets people I've talked to, like they've had a swagger, for lack of a better word, or a quiet confidence that, like, oh boy, Derek Carr, you better figure it out. They're like, we're okay. And I'm like, what do you mean you're okay? Well, what do you mean by that? Like, they just have this confidence this entire time, and to just kind of put words together that they just believed they were always either going to get Aaron Rodgers or had a very good, chance at getting Aaron Rodgers, to me, which was really interesting. And I do want to throw this other nugget in before I ask you about it, is that Diana Rossini also kind of added to that Ian Rappaport report on her own, said she wouldn't expect anything in the next 24 hours in terms of an Aaron Rodgers Jets thing to go along with Ian Rappaport. I felt differently. I feel like when you bring over and I want your opinion on this, that you bring over owner Woody Johnson, you're flying across the country. That sounds like to close a deal. That feels like to hammer out the key details, not explore and say, we like you. Do you like us? I feel like we're way past that stage. Will fill us in here on all this.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it's been a kept secret. I mean, it's not even a secret. Everyone's
worst
kind of knows.
Secret.
Yeah, worst kept secret. Right. Whatever the phrase is. At the Senior Bowl, after the Senior Bowl, I said, like, everyone said it. You left there. It's like all you talked about is Rodgers. There was some Carr talk, obviously, other guys, because there was more of the market. The combine was like, I think I tweeted out about Connor's tweet the other day that I don't know that I heard one person like, oh, Derek Carr's a good fit with the Jets. It was all like, just go get Aaron Rodgers. There was some, everyone's like, oh, go get Lamar if possible. But at the time, I think there was more of a thinking that he'd get extended or exclusive franchise tagged, and you just didn't feel like they'd trade with in the AFC. So obviously things have changed on that front, but I feel like 24 hours, I understand kind of where that's coming from. Rodgers is kind of beats to his own drum. He's going to have to sleep on it, and there's all these different things. But there is a deadline here. Like, the Packers have pretty blatantly said March 15th, this needs to be done one way or another, whether it's retire or go back to Green Bay. The Jets are really the only option. I saw the Titans flown out, their roster's terrible, and they're trying to move. They just cut Robert Woods. They're looking to trade Derrick Henry from reports.
Right.
I'm not sure that that's as good of a, I don't know. I think that was more of he has a house in Nashville, quote unquote, allegedly.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It was. He didn't.
That's been the chatter. Correct.
He's building
a house and plans on living there. Yeah.
Right. So it kind of, while the Jets don't have as much leverage as they probably did with Carr out there, I don't know that I just don't see how all of a sudden they have no leverage, because the Packers they're going to get something back. And then Rodgers basically is a virtual no trade, right? Like, he can kind of just go wherever he wants.
Right. Yes.
Generally speaking, in order to basically kind of legally tamper, which is, I guess, give permission and stuff, usually they have to be on pretty much the same terms. I mean, I know Rich tweeted out, I'm not saying we don't know for sure that we don't know anything for sure on that sense. Right. But we definitely, they've got to be pretty close. Like I said, I know, potentially, yes. Do they have to rework a deal with Rodgers? We don't know. I know, if he's traded the cap hit, I think it's like $15.8 million or something.
Correct.
So again, there's a lot that's going to get worked out here, the money, but it kind of felt like the Jeremy Fowler report that was about the Jets have the slight lean there right before Carr signed, kind of felt like, to the Saints, up your offer here. And then, back at it from the Jets point of view, like, they've got to reduce some of the money. There's some conversation around, if who eats money on what side, draft picks, all these different things. So, like, there's obviously a lot of work going on behind the scenes. But it still comes down to one thing: does Aaron Rodgers want to play for the Jets? And you have to think, even before taking the meeting, I guess it must have been over the phone or something of that case last night, right? And then today, obviously in
Yes.
person.
Yeah. There was
There's got to be some mutual interest there. I mean, obviously, fortunately, no one really knows for Rodgers. I think it's like you can read the tea leaves, but again, no one really knows. But there's got to be something, and we'll see. Obviously, that perspective, but I do think at this point it would be a pretty big disappointment. I think the Jets are doing everything they can. I don't know what else they're supposed to do here. I mean, you can unless you can't even. It's not even like it's an open contract. Where hey, we're just gonna overpay you again. I mean, he's already supposed to make $60 million this year. I'm not really sure where else you want him to go on this case.
Yeah. So the other thing that I think a lot of people are trying to figure out, and this is the thing where I am at. So the Packers, as Ian Rappaport reported this morning, and Trey Wingo even earlier, that the Packers said, "Cool, Aaron Rodgers, you want to talk to the Jets? God bless, enjoy, go ahead." And obviously, Aaron Rodgers, as we're seeing today, as the Jets are meeting with Aaron Rodgers as we're speaking, he has he left the front door unlocked, said, "Come on in when you swing by." So there's been openness on both sides. It's not like the Packers said, "Cool, go ahead," and Rodgers said, "Nah, I'm good." So they both said yes. So my question to you is, Will, and RG3 had the perfect quote. We used it to start off the show. That again, if you brought your wife to a restaurant, allowed her to go on a date with some random person in there, and said, "Yeah, it's cool, go ahead," is she going to come back to you and say, things didn't really go well, so back with you? Like, it just feels like there's no way to put that genie back in the bottle. The Packers, by saying, Aaron Rodgers, you could talk to another team, they're like, "Yeah, we're cool with Jordan Love. We're good." And then Aaron Rodgers, by saying, "Yeah, sure, let's check out the Jets." It sounds like he both wants to play football and also wants to play football for somebody else. It doesn't seem like I heard Connor Hughes reply to my tweet when I was asking about this. He said, he's still weighing his option. What do you mean weighing his option? Everyone's going to come over and he's going to go like, "All right, I'll call you back. I'll let you know." What do you mean? It feels like everybody's kind of already laid their cards on the table. Is that the same sense? Feel free to crap on everything I'm saying that may be off base. I'm just trying to understand here. It just feels like inevitably Aaron Rodgers ain't playing for the Packers, and it looks like the Jets, since they're obviously the first team that's met with them in a lot of connection sense.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of really have only seen it's been like, the Raiders, Jets, maybe the Titans. It's kind of been the options. It feels like for a couple of weeks. The Raiders pretty clearly want to draft somebody. Look, again, I don't know. Diane Rossetti just said they're not opposed. They're not out of the Lamar thing. I think that's a very different scenario. I think the Raiders are looking something more long term based on the way their roster is structured, their salary cap situations, all these different things. And that's basically what every Raiders person you ask. If good Sean Reed's a great follow. He covers the Raiders for The Athletic.
Yes, he's great.
He was on NFL Network on Good Morning Football the other day and said, like, "Hey, man, he definitely they're going to draft a quarterback." I just feel like at the end of the day, it's really a one-team race here. And yeah, like it's similar to the Lamar sense, but like, at least with the Lamar situation, I feel like it's like he wants to be a Raven, but the situation's a little, even that, like, I don't know how he goes back to the Ravens now unless
Right.
someone paint. And this is even more of a, like, Packers have had every opportunity the last month, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, really, to say the combine, "Hey, let's, are you going to bring Aaron back? What do you want to do? Oh, we'll see." It's like, there's never like an answer of like, "No, he's our guy." "Oh, we'll welcome him back, but it's up to Aaron," or, "Oh, we'll welcome him back, but we really like Jordan." It's like, there's just a lot of, you could easily shoot it down, and they haven't. And then on Aaron's side, he hasn't shot it down either. He's made a lot of comments. I still have the fire to play football, but then all of a sudden he kind of toned it back a little bit. He's like, "Oh, retirement's maybe an option." Meanwhile, the week before, he's like, he still has the drive for it. I don't know. If you kind of read through a little bit of the BS, it just really feels like he wants to play football, and the Jets are the best option for him to win, and also to get paid the money he wants and be in a better situation the next 2 years. I think I'm not really high on Jordan Love at all. I don't know how you could possibly be high on Jordan Love. He played, decent for a quarter and a half against the Eagles. It's like the only time we've seen him in 3 years. But that said, they traded up for him. And if you don't play him this year, you basically just wasted a first-round pick and got nothing out of it. So I get why they want to, they would want to be able to play Jordan Love. That said, we'll see. I just feel like the Jets are really the only option here, and I just don't know how you the genie's kind of out of the bottle, for lack of a better term. Like it's kind of just feels like it's a matter of time. It's a matter of if, not when. Again, I don't want to jinx it, but unless something goes awry and there's something, but I really am struggling to see why they've now met with him twice. I'm sure there'll be another meeting tomorrow over, hey, sleep in till whatever time, smoke the shrooms and do whatever you're going to do. And then let's talk again in the afternoon. But it just feels like, right? Like, I don't know. This is it feels like a recruiting visit. The coach came to your school. You went up for your official visit. You only have one offer, and you can sleep on it all you want. At some point, again, maybe it takes till maybe it's Thursday morning, and in classic Rodgers and Jets fashion, it'll be at 4 a.m. Everyone will wake up to it, or 2 a.m, whatever it is. Maybe it's not tomorrow or tonight, but it definitely feels like I just would be really surprised by the end of the week. We don't have an answer one way or another.
All right, let me ask this because I'm seeing it floating in the chat. Obviously, today was tag day, and the Jets obviously didn't have anyone to tag. Although I was fighting for Greg Zuerlein out there, Greg the Leg. We'll see if that ends up coming to fruition at some other point. But the big news was Lamar Jackson getting the franchise tag, and which one was he going to get, exclusive or non-exclusive? We found out it's non-exclusive, and the long story short of that for all the fans means NFL teams starting next week will be able to sign him to an offer sheet, talk to him, chat with him. And once Lamar Jackson puts pen to paper, the Ravens will have 5 days to either match that or not, and then they get 2 first-round picks out of it, and there will be a chance for, as I'm seeing a few people mention in here, almost Curtis Martin style, although I believe that was restricted free agent, not franchise tag situation, where you could poison pill and make it either incredibly challenging on the Ravens, where if they matched it, it'd put them in a bad way, which is what good business any NFL team would do, or, again, they just get 2 first-round picks out of it. So with the Aaron Rodgers situation potentially not happening tonight or tomorrow, whenever, because, again, it's Tuesday night. Again, I got to pay attention what gosh darn day it is. It's Tuesday night now, and going into Wednesday, we'll see what happens. If that at all hesitates, what about Jets and Lamar Jackson? Because now that Lamar has been placed in the non-exclusive, it doesn't matter. AFC, NFC, XFL, it doesn't matter. Any team, for that matter, can sign him to a deal, and the Ravens have no control outside of potentially matching it. So is Lamar Jackson Jets? Is that on the table? Is that possible? Brian Costello joined Petey, our boy Petey, on Twitter Space last night and said that he would be shocked if Woody went to that distance because of all the factors, the crazy money, pissing off all the other owners, Deshaun Watson style, because probably someone's going to give him that fully guaranteed deal or something pretty crazy to make sure the Ravens can't get it. Maybe. I don't know. Thoughts? Jets, Lamar.
So, makes a ton of sense. It would be crazy to not get involved. I guess my question would be, I think Connor Hughes had that report back like a month ago. It said basically, if he's on the table, I have a couple issues. One,
sure, yeah,
that makes it this is the only reason I'm hesitant about if it would happen.
Okay.
First of all, it's terrible business by the Ravens. I saw a lot of people trying to spin this horrible business. You could potentially lose a 25, 26-year-old homegrown MVP at quarterback. Yes. For just 2 first-round picks and nothing else, and entering his prime, essentially. And that is horrible business. And if, the Jets, just use the example. First of all, the Giants should have waited on Lamar, because that would have been a great fit.
That could have been interesting. Yeah,
that would have been a great fit. Then you tag Saquon, whatever. But, I guess essentially, like, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase it. Like, if you put a poison pill in the contract and they, and the Ravens don't match it, did you just screw yourself? I guess, though, is there really a screwing yourself on a deal with Lamar? I don't know about that. I just think the Jets should be involved, point blank. Like 2 first-round picks for Lamar. The Jets are relevant for the next 5 to 7 years minimum. I think they're kind of focused on Rodgers based on what we've seen, but
of course,
they should absolutely be kicking the tires on what a contract could look like. Yeah, I saw Peter King suggest with Lamar potentially like a 2 for $90 fully guaranteed type of deal.
I saw that. Yeah, interesting.
I don't know if he would take that, but I think it's not.
I'm not sure either. Yeah.
I'm not sure it's the worst idea I've heard. But the problem was so I guess from Albert Breer's reporting, they offered him a top of the market traditional quarterback contract, and the first 2 years were guaranteed, and then they wanted injury protections on year 3, 4, and 5. So I guess was there any real difference there? I don't know if that's any different. Maybe it just gives him a chance to walk in 2 years if whatever he comes to the Jets. Just using an example, it's amazing and says he's leverage again in 12 months. I just you have to be involved in both. The Jets, there's 2 quarterbacks that give them a chance to compete for a Super Bowl on the market, like literally actually on the market. If you can come, you got to come away with one. And I said for a long time, I just didn't love the Derek Carr thing. Not that I wouldn't have been, I thought, it'd be a solid team with Derek Carr. I think they probably are, their ceiling's probably around 1 win, round 2 loss, at Kansas City, at Buffalo or whatever, Cincinnati. I think they're with Lamar or Rodgers, they're a team that you can kind of talk yourself into, could quite literally with some other healthy guys and whatever. Obviously, there's other factors. Like they could easily win the AFC East and host the playoff game. Like they would be a very popular pick to win the AFC East with either of those guys. Not with Jimmy G, but it's fun.
Yeah, right. Not with him. The only interesting factor will be, I believe I saw this, so correct me if you've heard different. I believe with the non-exclusive franchise tag that NFL teams will be allowed to start chatting with him starting on the new league year, which is the 15th. So we're the 7th today, so we're talking about another 8 days essentially for that to happen. So
which again,
the Jets would. Yeah,
I was going to say, so I saw Miami keeps getting thrown around. I know he's from Miami, and that would make sense, right? So I saw.
Also, I just want to throw this in here, just in case you don't know. Miami actually is restricted; they cannot speak with Lamar.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. I just want to make sure that you had that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say they can't. They don't have a first round pick.
Yes.
So they're not relevant right now. If this drags on until post draft, which is possible, I guess theoretically speaking, then sure, Miami actually does get involved again, but. I kind of feel like they not all in on Tua. I feel like they're more of we want to get a big, a good veteran backup this year and run it back one more time. And if Tua can't stay healthy, we pivot. We pivot after this year. They also have their cap space is a mess.
How is that going to work?
They just paid Bradley Chubb they're paying a lot of guys. They got
Tyreek,
they have to pay Waddle soon. They got to potentially pay Tua. I guess we'll see on that. The Byron Jones contract, I guess, falls off. I have to look into that, but. It feels like it was weird that Atlanta, said they were out. I don't understand that.
I feel like it's a leverage thing because, why would you say you're in?
Illusion.
You're in. I don't know. So, there was a lot of teams on that list. Someone tweeted it out. Washington out. Raiders were out. Falcons were out. A bunch of teams. Someone said that publicly said no thanks in some back channel or something. To me, it just seems like a leverage play. Why would you come out and say, "Oh yeah, we're going after him"? I don't know.
That well, the problem is this is where again I think it's really cool. Lamar doesn't have an agent from a lot of perspectives.
Right. Yeah.
He gets screwed here on 2 fronts. One, before he's a free agent, it's not like he can gauge his interest around the league. Right. And then B now he can't even gauge interest of who's interested. They can gauge interest, I guess, but Lamar basically has to put on his agent hat here, and it's these guys are going to try to negotiate. And I don't mean this in a mean way. Agents are used to having to do these negotiation tactics. Players aren't. There's even the Richard Sherman contract that you could argue he made out well for himself for the Niners. I don't know. I feel like he still took less money than he probably should have because you don't know your market. You can't go. You're not going around to other GMs or other things. There's just a little bit of a mess here. So this is one of those times where I wish Lamar had an agent that could say, hey, we believe there's 3 to 4 teams that are willing to pay you 4 for 190 and guarantee 150 of it and X, Y, and Z. And that way it's I think the Ravens, I said this on the pod on Saturday or Sunday. I said, it kind of just feels like the Ravens are playing a game of chicken. Do you think you can go get 4 or 5 for 250?
Right. That's
go
dangerous.
Go find it. And if you don't, we'll be right here waiting with the same deal, probably 5% less than we told you before, which is awful. Obviously, I don't want to see Lamar get paid, but I'm just fortunate it's the business of the nature of the business. It's I'm sure the Jets have had an offer, prepared for Rodgers, and if they probably one offer, if they need to up it, they're willing to go to X, and they're hoping to keep it at Y.
Right.
I still think it's going to be a 2 and a 4. Mm-hmm. I've seen the pick swap idea thrown around. 13 and 15 is part of it.
That's interesting.
It's not a terrible idea, I guess. But if you're the Jets, I don't really feel like you'd want to even swap there because you'd probably want one of the O linemen. And Like, you don't want to
Correct.
miss. But I don't know, 2 and a 4 and a future 2 for maybe it's like a 5 this year and a 6 next year, something like that, where like the Jets coop a couple, roster day 3 guys for, some of those more premium picks. But I still don't think they give up a 1. But I think maybe instead of a conditional 3 next year, it's a conditional 2 that could become a 1 or something like that.
Yeah, which will be interesting. I'm looking forward to see ultimately where we fall, and again with the potentially bidding against yourself, because again he will need permission to speak with anyone else, so the Jets will know that if any other team gets in the mix in that way, because that'll be very public. So that'll be interesting. Well, I know you got to get out of here, but feel free on your way out here. First off, promote your own platform. I'd love to do that for you, of course, with all the wonderful stuff you've been doing. You've been getting some superstar. I see MC2 coming up, and some teases of who else, which is great. And any other Roger Lamar or any other nugget. You mentioned a good one with obviously the players I think Jet fans will kind of get their heads around after the quarterback thing is solved, with Orlando Brown shaking free, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Like there's some names are like, whoa, didn't see that one coming. So there is that for Jet fans to consume. But anything quarterback wise that we missed and didn't touch or get to that you wanted to on that conversation?
Yeah, no, I would say, like, as excited as fans are, like, trust me, the players they're pumped. Like all day, it's been back and forth. Like, yo, let me know what's going on. What are you seeing on any updates here?
Yeah.
Any updates? Trying to get. They're watching on. They're just like everybody else. They're refreshing Twitter and doing those types of things. Next week, Lincoln Tomlinson, who you had on, will be on. Michael Carter, the second will be on. There'll be a bunch of Field the Eights will be coming up here shortly, which will be a nice one. I'm hoping to have him after, quarterback. We can talk a little fantasy sports there, but there's a bunch of other people kind of getting those worked on. Maybe I'll bribe Pat McAfee to get Rodgers on. But
that would be sexy.
I have an episode dropping tomorrow. My brother will be on.
Nice.
Who covers the NFL for the 33rd team. He was at the Combine as well. So we'll do some Combine breakdown. And then obviously, just like you, as we get some more clarity on the quarterback stuff, we'll do emergency pods where we can fit them in.
Excellent. All right. Great stuff, Will. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it, man.
Thanks so much, guys. Thanks so much, man.
There he is, Will Parkinson. I'm going to be staying on for a few more minutes here, guys, to answer any overlaying questions you may have. This has been a crazy stream. We have nearly 300+ people in here. It's amazing. By the way, if you're watching the free way, you guys can support the show. We do shows all the time, live streams with fans and doing stuff with wonderful guests. Make sure you like the video right now on YouTube and hit subscribe down below. Regardless of whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, make sure you show your support for the show. You help us keep going here. And again, once this news breaks, we'll be popping on, baby. But it was great to catch up with Will, who's fantastic, good buddy of mine, to get him on the show. If you have questions, send them in, baby. I'm going to start going back through. Again, the free way all of you guys can contribute is by liking the video, hitting subscribe. If you have some change in your tin cup, you'd like to throw it in, YouTube Super Chat feature is available, and that will guarantee that your comment gets answered here on the show. And, of course, I'll give you a wonderful shout-out. So I'm going to start working from most recent backwards to try to see if I can answer any remaining question you guys have on any of this Rodgers stuff. I think I got to most of my notes, but we'll try to get a couple of those in as well. Seen a lot of you guys in the Lamar train. Thanking Will. Thank you so much. Vic had no accuracy. What the hell is going on here? Yeah, you guys are all over the place on this Lamar stuff. I will say I believe the Aaron Rodgers thing is going to happen. I just feel like we are there. You don't go this deep and then not get him. That's me. I don't know. There was a good point made by somebody either on Twitter or somewhere else where, again, the Jets met with Derek Carr at the Combine, and they flew out the whole group. The only one who didn't was Robert Saleh, who had a stomach bug. But besides that, Woody Johnson, Joe Douglas, the Derek Carr connections on the staff, Downing, a couple others. I believe they were also there for the meeting. So they did all fly out. And you could say, hey, well, they all flew out, and then ultimately it didn't happen. This one feels different, though, because like the Combine is like this NFL central hub for everyone to kind of meet up and do something. In this particular visit, they're going to his house. They're whining and dining in his neck of the woods. Like, they're not there for any other reason. Solely Aaron Rodgers stuff. So to me, that seems to be a distinct difference. But nonetheless, that does feel like this is moving and grooving. And typically when teams allow someone to talk to your player, trade compensation is agreed to, or wink, wink, like this is basically the framework. Like, okay, let's talk to him and see. Because I think a couple of varying factors here are going to affect the trade price. You heard there from Will, he thinks a 2 and a 4. I had a trade proposal. It's up on Heavy on Jets if you guys would like to check it out. Here's the nitty gritty, but you guys can read the details from our good buddy Ian from Jet Central. Shout out to Ian, who threw this out in the Bleacher Report app. A 2 and a 2. The 2 this year is locked in, obviously, because, the draft's about to happen. So it can't be conditional in 2023 for people who often ask about that. The conditions have to be at least in 2024 because, we don't know what's going to happen in 2024 draft yet. So conditions can affect that pick. However, a 2 and a 2, the 2 this year is 43. The 2 next year can elevate to a first if Aaron Rodgers plays more than 1 year. Interesting kind of conditions. Again, because you can make it off, something as simple as that. If he plays an extra year, incentives like the Brett Favre trade was, like if they go to the Super Bowl, it's a this. If they go to the playoffs, it's this. If they do this, it's that, et cetera, et cetera. So I do think ultimately it will be some level of condition. And because it seems like the Jets are bidding against themselves. Now, Derek Carr being off the table somewhat affects the perception of leverage, because if Derek Carr was out there and the Derek Carr lean, or he wanted to be on the Jets if they wanted him, like if he kept floating out there for a while, you kept going, hey, if this doesn't work out, we're going back to him. So there's no real person to point to, I guess Lamar, but there's no like, hey, if we don't go here, we're going there, where the Packers are not like, it's Aaron Rodgers. We know you're coming here. So the leverage is kind of interesting from that standpoint. It's kind of interesting. Overall, I saw some of these nuggets. Zach Wilson's presence, rather, does not affect the quarterback situation. In other words, I've seen that floated around a little bit. Like, oh, man, Zach Wilson is there. Maybe Derek Carr, maybe Aaron Rodgers. Like, I don't know. From a backup quarterback perspective, sure. A backup quarterback may not want to come to the Jets if they have a star quarterback number 1 and then weird number 2 overall pick. They're kind of like awkward. Don't really see where I fit in. Kind of weird. So that may be difficult for the Jets ultimately to get a QB2 if they want to get a proven guy beyond Zach Wilson. That's up for any of you guys to potentially debate. But in terms of QB1, like Aaron Rodgers, like the Jets aren't like, we got Zach Wilson. They're like, oh, Aaron Rodgers, whatever for Aaron Rodgers. And Derek Carr, even for that matter, like they called Derek Carr a potential first ballot Hall of Famer. He came in and won. So I don't think that is a factor at all for people who have brought that up personally. Also, just another thing being said, that I'd prefer the second round pick this year because the first round pick obviously can help you immediately. Connor Rogers floated that out on the NFL Stock Exchange podcast, where he discussed saying his opinion, of course, this is not sourced or reported, but his opinion was like, they're not giving up 13 because they want to protect the quarterback. They want picks to help now. The picks in the future are kind of less relevant because like they couldn't help this year anyway. So an interesting factoid from that standpoint. And one other nugget I wanted to share, you guys can also check it out on Twitter, the full clip. I won't bring it on here, but there's been a theme with Aaron Rodgers to the Jets and the connections that have been made for months that, would Aaron Rodgers want to come to the Jets? He had a crappy relationship with Favre initially, right? Where, backup starter. And it's a weird rub. And Brett Favre says, I didn't come here to be his, mentor trainer. It's kind of like similar to the Joe Flacco thing with Lamar way back when. That, when you're going through all that, that there was a little bit of a rub, and that, man, Brett Favre, the 15 years ago, got traded to the Jets. Would Aaron Rodgers want to go down the same path and be compared to Brett Favre? A lot of people would speculate saying, well, he wouldn't want to do that. However, I spoke with Peter Bukowski, who covers the Green Bay Packers. That video clip is on my Twitter account again, @boygreen25, baby, hashtag branding, of course. And in that, he actually argued the opposite because Brett Favre, as we all know, came here to the Jets, 8-3, a lot of impressive accolades and things of that nature, but ultimately it was a dud because they did not do it. Now, I will say the overall season was exciting because we were in the mix, and at 8-3, we're talking Super Bowl, beat 10-0 Titans, beat the Patriots in overtime. Like, there was a lot of exciting moments from that season, so I'm all cool running it back. But obviously, it ended horribly, where the Jets not only didn't win the Super Bowl, they didn't even make the friggin' playoffs, obviously. So it was massively disappointing from that standpoint. But Peter Bukowski says Aaron Rodgers may come in with a little swag and say, hey, not only is all this going to be going on, but I'll tell you this, I'm going to go to the gosh darn New York Jets. I'm going to do better than Brett Favre ever did, and we're going to win and make these incredible runs. So an interesting factor, and it makes sense from a confidence standpoint, a bravado, that Aaron Rodgers would say, oh, I want to do that so I can one-up Brett Favre. So kind of an interesting comment there from a Packers insider and Peter Bukowski. All right, guys, I'll answer a few more of your last-second questions here, and then we'll sign off. And like I said, stay tuned, of course, to the Heavy on Jets stuff. And yes, Brett Favre had a torn bicep. I'm seeing a few people bring that up, obviously. The torn bicep and not reporting it to the team. A quick diatribe before I get to your questions. if Brett Favre, who tore his bicep, they were 8-3, right? If he would have just told the Jets, "Hey, I tore my bicep," I'm not a doctor, so I have no idea what the rehab time is. Maybe that would have rolled him out for the season. I don't know. But the point is that if he would have went to the team and said, "Hey, I'm just not there. I've got a freaking torn bicep," maybe Kellen Clemens could have done a little bit better than 1-4 at the end of the season. Maybe the Jets make the playoffs because they had the defense, they had the run game, and everything else. That maybe he could have been just good enough. But Brett Favre said, "Nah, I'm good," and trying to overcome the injury. I mean, he screwed the team. So just to put that out there, obviously, from that standpoint. Again, guys, any questions on any of this? Let's see. Monty, that's a good question. Isn't Rodgers still injured with the thumb? I have not heard whether or not he needs surgery for that. I've heard there has been some speculation on potential surgery, but I believe there's been multiple options, as there is with anything. Like someone asked about my knee earlier. So, like my knee, for instance, that I injured doing Taekwondo. Potentially, if they end up doing the extra MRI and they see something, I will have the choice of surgery or no surgery. And as is the case with most injuries, although sometimes, you're kind of pigeonholed one way or the other, surgery couldn't help this or surgery is the only option. I believe that decision has not been made yet, certainly not publicly. But yes, I believe from surgery's sake, it wouldn't be out for months. I believe it's only a handful of weeks. I've seen 6 to 8 and things of that nature from that speculation. But again, his specific injury, I don't have his medical information in front of me, so we don't know from that standpoint. But yes, there is a chance of that. Back to Monty here. Best of luck recovering, buddy. Yeah, we'll see. There's a chance it could be bad. Went to a knee specialist today. Wearing a knee brace now. So we will see what evolves with that. Need another MRI to check, which I don't know if more test is a good sign or a bad sign, but nonetheless, we'll keep an eye on that. I'm off the crutches though with the knee brace. That feels better. Something to get used to. That's for sure. JW, I want a car, but Aaron will be fun. Come on. I mean, yes, he would be exciting, elating. I would just be, so over the top. And you guys heard me giddy, obviously, earlier today in my morning video about all this from just the Trey Wingo thing. And obviously everything else has been even more exciting. That I'm on the edge of my seat, man. I am on the edge of my seat to see what happens here. I'm just so excited, so absolutely elated and ready. And quite frankly, I think it's going to happen. I'm like, someone asked me off air, privately, Paul, what's the chance of with Aaron Rodgers? And for a while, I've been saying 85% without anything from today. Like, I just have a feeling it's going to happen. Then today I was asked with everything now, I'm like 99.9%, 100%. I just feel like they're going to get this done. You don't go this far without getting him. That's just my perspective. All right, a couple of quickies here. I'll try to get to a few quickies here, then we're signing off. Feel better, Paul. Appreciate that. Bring Strevlo up as a backup. He's just not very... Patty, I like the question. I like Chris Strevlo. He's been a fun story to cover. He's probably destined for the practice squad, if I'm being blunt. I was about to say Brett Favre. You think you're going to have Aaron Rodgers. You have Zach Wilson, who's pretty likely going to be on the roster. And then you have this third spot. Is it Chris Strevler? Is it some cheap backup like a Brian Hoyer? That's someone the Jets tried out or brought in for a visit in April of 2021. So that's someone they kicked the tires on before, so it could be possible. Would thumb drive down the price? Not significantly, I don't think, but I think it's kind of a collection plate because you talk about age, 39, going to be 40. Is he going to continue to do the year-to-year analysis on his career and tell the Jets? I don't know. I'm rhetorically asking these questions. Is the year-to-year thing going to continue? That affects the price. The thumb injury, I guess, sort of, but not really. I mean, in terms of him not playing as well as he did last year, I guess that sort of affects the price, but not dramatically by any means. And in general, does he want to play for the Jets? And from all accounts, he does want to play for the Jets, or he's open to it, however you want to interpret that. So, there's a lot to be kind of hashed out there, but this is a unique negotiating. And I talked about it in my article for Heavy on Jets, the latest one that went up, that ultimately, a lot of veteran quarterbacks have been traded left and right over the years and for big prices. But Aaron Rodgers is so old, and then you have the injury, obviously, from last year and everything else. He's such a unique guy, and he's evaluating his career on a year-to-year basis that I just think naturally that's going to kind of contain the price where it doesn't get crazy, like it's 2-1s, 3-1s, or something wild. I just don't feel like we're going to get to that point, personally. I think that's ultimately where we're going to go. Although, according to all these insiders, it's not going to come tonight or tomorrow. I would just be surprised. I think this is going to happen I don't want to say imminently. I don't have any sources on that, although it seemed like Dan Graziano this morning on Get Up was sort of leaning in that direction. But from the latest reporting, Ian Rappaport, he said, here's a direct quote. Wouldn't expect anything soon on Aaron Rodgers. Diana Rossini said something similar. She said, wouldn't expect anything in the next 24 hours. So we've had a little bit of a mix, a little bit of a rub on a couple of different items there in terms of people saying, I don't know if it's immediate. But I just feel like if you're bringing the whole brass, you're bringing the whole group over, I just believe you're going to either close the deal or hammer out some finer point details to like bring it to the 1 yard line. And then the rest is a formality. That's what I believe. But ultimately, we'll see. Guys, continue to enjoy the information. I'm going to try to stay up as late tonight as possible because that Woody Johnson plane from the latest. By the way, Jet fans are freaking crazy. We had Bush guy for Salah, and then we have like flight track guy. I think that's Oliver from Jets X Factor. Shout out to him. All you guys are and Cali Jets, obviously doing God's work in California. Shout out to all those wanna guys. So that's amazing to do. We have Jet Press said it. Like we have Jet fans to employ all over the nation. Send them in, Cali Jets. Send them in, Bush guy. We just have Jet fans everywhere, which is spectacular. But we'll see. I'll try to stay up through that 2 a.m. Woody Johnson flight where they're supposed to be leaving. Maybe that gets delayed and they hang out there as Will Parkinson was kind of suggesting. But ultimately, nonetheless, it'll be fascinating to break all this down and really see when or if ultimately this is going to happen. So hopefully we wake up tomorrow morning, or if I sleep tonight, we wake up tomorrow morning with some level of news and some level of heat as this thing continues to go. To me, I feel like we're at the formality stage, but the insiders have not reached that place yet. But I am super excited, and we'll see what happens. I can't imagine my reaction. Hopefully we're live somewhere. I really just need a 24/7 camera following me everywhere, so once the Aaron Rodgers news hits me, everyone can just see my raw reaction to whatever that is. I hope we are live to see it. The Deebo Samuel thing was fun last year, and that didn't even end up coming to fruition. So it'd be kind of cool to see it live, and hopefully we do. Guys, Jet fans, I'll leave you on this. We are in a fun position, and this is the chance to be an exciting, spectacular year with Super Bowl odds being thrown our way. We're already seeing that a little bit. Exciting times where Jets getting a bunch of primetime games and being in the conversation, which quite frankly is not something they've been legitimately since the AFC Championship days. So that would be amazing. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Again, make sure you like the video, hit subscribe whether you're watching live or after the fact. We appreciate it, and we'll try to keep you up to date on the latest with Aaron Rodgers.